Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I'm a master manifester, and I know you are too because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Manifesting Magic the Practical Way because we talk about a lot of practicalities, especially those practicalities surrounding other people because they do impact our lives. We just can't ignore it unless you go live on a mountain or in a cave by yourself. And, that's not very fun, especially if you have children, you know? Anyway. What I'm talking about today is the fact that you're a seer, right? And if you understand this language, you're going to get what I'm saying really quickly. You're a seer. And when I say a seer, I'm not talking about the woo woo, new age version of seer. Like there's some really specific aspects to that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're a person that sees things. You see things and you can't unsee them once you see them, right? So on this trial, on this, this avenue that we take to abundance, how lovely would it be to spend all of our time going on about all of the things that are amazing and beautiful that we want to create all the time, right? And never spend any time on the things that are roadblocks that are in our vision, that are in our peripheral, that are happening all the time that we, you know, have to acknowledge even if we don't want to, right? Ignoring things doesn't make it go away, and it's what you would like to happen, and it doesn't happen. And I've seen people try to use that method several times throughout my life, and it doesn't go away. So when I talk about these kind of subjects, it's not about being bitter or looking over to what other people are doing and being too affected in reactionary body environments. It's so that you can know this behavior. And when you see this behavior, whether it's in yourself or whether it's in other people, you can automatically nip it in the bud. You can go another direction. You can see it for what it is and then continue to create that beautiful, abundant life that you're choosing to create, right? Because these are the parts, the people, the practicalities that hold us up. And if we understand how those work a little bit more, and we understand organizational development a lot and how people interact in environments and family settings and one on one interactions, we're much better for it, right? You're a seer. Number one, this is to me, this is like a checklist, right? If you're a person that's a seer and you're trying to figure out why do I keep coming in contact with environments where people treat me a certain way or where I seem to be the outsider, right? Anyway, number one, these are my three reasons. My three characteristics of a seer, and the three characteristics that also can get you into trouble with a lot of people who are not awakened. Number one is you see clearly when people are full of crap. There's no other way to get around that. There's no other way to get around. That's exactly what I put. It's exactly what I wrote. It's exactly what I mean. It's exactly what I'm saying. You see clearly when people are full of it, right? Like you can meet people and you can talk to them and you can share time with them and you can see right off the bat if they don't like you. And it's perfectly fine if they don't. And I can see clearly when I meet people when they just adore me and it wouldn't matter what I did. I can do no wrong. I have previous supervisors like that. They liked me from the moment they met me. And even when they attempted to control me for a minute, they just let it go and was like, I like this woman too much and she just does too much great and abundant things. And I'm just gonna let her do her work. That's one of those things that happens, right? You see clearly when people are full of it. Like it doesn't take you 10 minutes to figure out people are full of it when you're having a conversation with them. You can tell in the first you know, 3 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds by word choices that are being used, by eye contact, by body movement, by non tangible energy. Because when you work and live and operate in a space of authenticity, you're on that level all the time. Like your mindset is there. So when you interact with these other people, you begin to have a real good bullcrap detector that you didn't even try to develop, right? And it's just like, oh, wait, I don't know. I feel like they're full of it, but I don't really have any evidence. So you move on. And then a week later, you're like, oh, I knew they were full of it. I didn't really give it a time because I don't like to spend my time thinking about other people. But what happened over this week of this span of time that I heard that I knew that they were a bullcrap and I let them continue to be in my space? What transpired? Because those are the areas where I might see some patterns that I need to redevelop in myself and expand or evolve in myself so that I'm not allowing people to be in my space and just being full of it. So like, did I just take their word for it and I started making decisions and changing my mindset and my ways, even though a deep part of me was just like, this person's full of it. No, so it's like, it's being most honest with yourself, right? People that are lazy in the mind and don't have a strong personal constitution, or either they think they do, but they're really full of a lot of fear, because people are like that a lot. They're full of more fear than they're very risk averse. They're full of more fear than what they'll be honest about. When they come into contact with somebody like you and you start having a conversation with them, they'll be like, "Oh, this person, she's one of those that knows that I'm full of it." It's like why I don't get in conversations about fitness at work with anybody. I hear them talking to each other, but nobody ever comes to me and says, "Oh, what do you do for fitness? You're fit. You got muscular arms. You're built. You're solid." Because I've been doing physical exercise for a while, and it looks like it. And they never because they know I'm not going to tell you nonsense. I'm not going to tell you that you can go down there when they say there's cookies available every single day, and then still have a six pack. It's just not going to happen. So they gravitate towards people who allow them to lie. So when you see clearly and you see that people are full of it, they got to be really authentic to be in your space. They don't want to have casual conversation with you because they already know the minute they bring up something that's just nonsense that you're just not going to, piggyback it. It's like, don't ask me about diet and weight loss and what it takes to actually create the fit body if you don't want to hear what it takes to create a fit body. I've had children, everybody's had these triumphs up and down. I've been through depressions where I was eating nonstop or not eating at all. So people have to tell, people are waiting for someone to let them off the hook. And if you're the kind of person that don't even let yourself off the hook, then you're going to be, people are going to bother, they're going to be bothered by the fact that you can't help but not be full of it and not notice that they're full of it when they're talking about something specific, right? It's just the truth of it. Um, Number two is you can tell when you're a seer. You can tell when people are taking the victim road, right? And they're making excuses for themselves. So hmm, you cannot even care about whether someone is changing a behavior, whether they're improving something or developing something. But they can have this idea that somehow you walk around thinking about them and what they're doing in their lives all day. And they are offended. That's that word again. When people feel like they're less than you, they get offended very easily by you. And you can't fix that if you wanted to. Nobody's offended by people that they think are, but by people that they think that they're on the same level of more of, they just call it a sharpening of the tools, right? That means you're taking their words too personal. That means you're taking it too deep. So you can tell when people are making excuses about things. It's like, because you live in a place of authenticity and accountability so often, and it's such a goal for your everyday life and your everyday interactions. The minute you get around people where excuses are being made and they just say things, I'm so busy and I don't have time for this and this and that. You're just like, dude, you got time. What, to the level of the desire you have to organize your mind, you have time. You don't have time to not have time. And that's the truth of most things that we experience in life. You can't even afford to not have time because you'll find yourself scrambling around in a circle with an unorganized mind, trying to create things in an unorganized fashion when really you haven't developed that part of yourself at all. So you can tell really quickly when people are making excuses or they're going a victim route or something, because you're just like, I used to love teaching, and I remember I taught at this school, which is now defunct. ICT Tech. I used to teach some technical classes at night. I remember teaching there, being pregnant and everything, and leaving 11 o'clock at night and driving home because I just wanted to teach classes so bad. And I used to teach PC hardware, software, networking, information security, and office products, something along that line. And I remember the women, there was a lot of women that were single moms and stuff that would come into the classes because that was a way for them to try to to break, and I respect it, but to break out of whatever mediocrity they found themselves in survival mode, and it wasn't enough. So they were coming back to get those technical educations to create something for them and their kids. I'm a firm believer in that. I've done it my whole career, my life now. But what I don't like is when you come to me, like as an instructor, when I was an instructor, and you try to tell me that the reason why you can't get something done is because you're a single mom. And I'm like, you ran into the wrong one because I'm one too. I didn't plan on being one just like you. I was married just like you were. They talking and you just like, and so I already know that where you're going is a victim mode. And you can't go there and create anything. You can't create anything from that space. You can't create anything positive that's going to take you to the next level from a victim approach mentality. It doesn't work that way because you're always looking on the outside, trying to get someone else to see how bad it is you've had it or how bad you do have it and why doing better or creating more won't work for you. And when you can see, when your eyes and your energy slices straight through that kind of nonsense, and people tell you that they've been working on something for like 15 years that you did in 30 days, you're just like, okay, you could have did that faster than that, right? I mean, that. And then, oh, the most interesting thing is when you run into women who are married we have children, they're not divorced, they have a two-income home, they have a house, things that's paid for, all these things that everybody says is a perfect life. That's why I don't aggrandize anything or put anything on a pedestal that anybody has. And then they start to tell you about what won't work and why they didn't complete a goal. And you're like, girl, I did that working part-time with two kids, homeschooling them at the same time, bringing them to every class, teaching at night, and going to class in the daytime. You could do it. And so when you're a seer, they don't bring you to regular conversation because they know your energy, your whole representation as a human being counters excuses. So it doesn't work. And then number 3, this is my very last one as it relates to you being a seer, is that you have a natural discernment and it's not emotion. Because a lot of people say, oh, I'm intuitive, but really they're just barking off their emotions all day. And they're just like, I feel this way. And so therefore it's intuition. That's not true. For me, intuition is a whisper. Intuition happens when you're not emotional because you can feel the subtle nuances of an environment. Intuition and discernment happens. Discernment is your process of making a decision about how you're going to respond to the environment or the situation that you are in, right? That's your discernment. You're using your discernment. But the intuition is what shows up right before that. Intuition is quiet. It's not emotional. It's not big. It's not angry. It's not even thoughtful. It's not even up here. Intuition is a moment, a flash, It's a flash. And it comes to you like an epiphany. Any Chrisette Michelle listeners, that's what she says like that in that little part of the intro song, Epiphany. And it comes to me like an epiphany. And you have this epiphany and you hit it. And then you think back to all the ways in which you ignored your natural discernment, your natural intuition. And you're like, oh yeah. Say you meet people. Has this ever happened to you? You meet people and you have a friend or somebody you're dealing with and they really like you and you hang out with them and y'all do stuff together and all this kind of stuff. And then they say they have this other friend that they want you to meet or something like that. And you meet this new person, a friend or a boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever they have. You meet this person and this person completely cold shoulders you and shuts you out. And you're just like, dang, tell me you're, insecure about your friendship or relationship with this person without telling me. And so, and you told yourself that it wasn't happening, that you was in your head and like, oh, they're fine. They're just, people get nervous and they get socially awkward and all. But you knew from the very moment you met that person that there was an issue there. I've met people like this. I remember one of the most recent positions that I've had. I met the supervisor of the environment. I didn't even meet her. She never introduced herself to me. She never even said hi. She said nothing. She glanced at me from afar and then she went in her office and we worked about 20 feet from each other. And as a person who was just starting in that position, I was like, well, I guess I'm new. I shouldn't. But then the pettiness ensued later and I'm like, that's what it was. That's what it was. They were intimidated and didn't and ignored it and then found a reason why you were some kind of a bad seed, which was fake. And then they started piling on you in a petty way to either hope you just break one day or you just leave so they won't have to be uncomfortable. So you begin to have this discernment that you can tell 1,000 miles away when you're in an environment and people are like that, right? You don't even waste your time with it anymore because you're just like, nah, I know when I've ran into this. Because just think about it. I'm 42 years old, 43 in about a month. People, Sagittarius, we got to keep it real. I don't really believe in those signs and all, but I swear when I hear anything about a Sagittarius, if it is not exactly my personality, I don't know what is. And like most of them that I know. And so you find yourself, you sit around and you're just like, I don't have the time anymore to waste on pretending like people are something that they're not. And you get into spaces and you start to have this real quick discernment. It doesn't make you turn into another person. It doesn't make you be negative or have a bad attitude towards the people, but it makes you organize yourself accordingly. You know what to say and what not to say. You know how much to share about your personal life. Oh my God, I always tell people, don't go in new environments and so just share everything about your personal life. Nobody needs to hear any of that. You know how to remain a mystery to some degree in many environments. You know how to be this person. You get this discernment about you of when you can be free and comfortable and when it's not going to work. And you start to understand this. And so I just think it's so important that we understand that when you're a person that sees things in society, you're going to get a certain reaction from people that you can take personal. But if you know ahead of time this is going to be the case, then you don't even need to take it personal. You don't need to be mad or upset by it. You just need to know, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. And my thoughts is, if you don't get into the petty and back and forth of people, whether they're family, whether it's a parent, whether it's a sibling, whether it's in a relationship, you're showing them the universe that you don't play ball at that level. And you're just like, nah, I'm just going to extract myself from this. I don't play ball there. I'm good. I'm good. It's a whole new world when people realize that they can't take anything from you or give you anything that's going to ever make or break you. That's some tough words to say. You cannot take or give me anything that will make or break me. You cannot take away anything. You cannot give me anything that will ever make or break my spirit. I promise you. And when you have that level of personal wherewithal, people don't know what to do with that. They're hiding. They're hiding. They're hiding from life behind their families, behind soccer games, behind voting and wearing stickers on their shirts, behind going to PTO parties. They're hiding behind going to work Thanksgiving events. They're hiding. They don't want to make any real difference in this world. They're afraid to. And they're afraid that somebody's going to come around and see this. It's okay. I figure we all got some of that fear in us at any given time. But when you try to pretend like yours don't exist and that your decisions that are being made are based on a really specific set of environment and circumstances and that, your excuses are more valid than anybody else's, it's just not true. You start to have a natural discernment about people, places, and things. You walk in for 2 seconds and you go, nah, I'm good. And they can't even figure out. There's a girl who works in a coffee shop that I go into, and I think she has a fake nice personality. I don't really care that she does, but I act accordingly. And so I'm all good morning, rainbows, butterflies, it's all good, especially people who are preparing my food. I'm always extra nice. Well, I completely forgot about that thought. Now it's just like, she reminds me of those fake nice girls. And I just moved on from it. Well, I went in there one day to go and get a bagel or a croissant, something like that. And so the guy that was working the register, he's very sweet and very nice and very cheery. And I always like to run into him. I saw her there. And so when he was ringing me up, I was like, oh, good. Because I don't like her energy. It ain't right to me. And I'm okay with it not being right. All good. And so when the food was done, there was a huge gang of men standing there, in suits and everything, because they were on some type of a working thing. And I couldn't get through the crowd to get to that counter where it's for you to pick up your things. I had to really bust through these men. And if you ever seen men in a group talking and sharing something work related, they are especially if they're nerds, they're laser focused. So these guys were chat, they were, oh no, and then this and that. And so the guy who was behind the counter, he saw me and he's just oh, even though she brought it all the way to the counter, she saw me there. She did like this with my food. I'm at the counter where she could easily just hand it to me. She walked all the way over like this with my bag and was like, it's going to be over here at the pickup. Even though she saw that the pickup was, the guy noticed behind the counter. He grabbed my things and brought it back to me. And I said, shady. And it's not even about walking around acting like somebody's doing something to you. It's having a clear understanding of who you are dealing with at any given time. And I always say, allow space for you to be wrong, but sometimes allow space for you to be exactly spot on. But it's okay. You know, it's not like you need to do something or change something or force something or push something into place. You just need to collect the information to know what you're working with. So you can know who to share this information with. So you can know who to collaborate with this with. So you can know who to depend on this for. You don't want to walk around acting like everybody's equal and the same when you're a seer and you've clearly saw the bull in some people's personalities and the way that they interact. The number one way that you can be a bull crapper to me is to not be accountable. I don't like lack of accountability. It's like, you know that you said you were going to do this thing and then you're not doing it. So of course I'm going to ask about it. And I don't really care about to ask about it. So this is putting us in this negative space, right? To me, that's something that's important to me. And it's not like I don't think that people are ever going to not be a person of their word, but you have to acknowledge it. You have to be accountable for it. Like most people can put up with almost any types of a personality traits or something, as long as people are accountable for what they're doing. You know, you can't act like it didn't happen, man. You know, it's like people, you borrowed $1,000 from me and you never paid it back. I don't care. I don't need $1,000. I'm abundant. The universe has given me 1,000 times 1,000 over hand over fist. You know what I mean? So it's not even about that, but it's just the idea that you just act like it was just going away. People do that. People do that. And I'm just like, what kind of life do you think you're going to have if you're not even accountable for the smallest of things? You're always going to be losing. There's no way to get around being a person who's clear and of your word. So anyway, when you're a seer, you're going to have this natural discernment. You're going to see clearly when people are full of it. And then you're also going to know when excuses are being said. And you're also going to get to the point where you're not emotional about it. You're just like, okay, I know what I'm dealing with there. And then you'll just mosey on to something else. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.